This video is brought to you by none other than Hire Heroes, you guys. Hire Heroes is your one-stop shop when it comes to virtual staffing and making sure that you have qualified talent with your business. One thing that I love about Hire Heroes, you guys, is they've actually gone through the process already of vetting and making sure that your staff member is well trained to best fit your needs. Whether you need help with social media work, posting things on your accounts, responding to people that send messages to your social media accounts, whether you need help with data entry or a multitude of other things that they're qualified to do, Hire Heroes has got you covered. If you're having trouble finding quality talent and number two, affording to be able to run payroll for that talent, Hire Heroes has got you covered with an affordable alternative to have a virtual assistant working for your business. There's a link down in the description of this video to where you can learn more about getting your own VA through Hire Heroes. I certainly recommend it. They're what we use in our business for all of our virtual assistant needs, and you will want to make sure that you check them out today. Hey, what's up, guys? Christian Brindle here, and I am back with another video bringing you somebody who's doing big time things in our industry. I have by far one of my favorite agents in the country, Jennifer Lee, out of California. Jennifer Lee is crushing it right now. She's done an incredible job building her agency in a multitude of different facets. And Jen is now starting to work with more agents and start to develop and grow their practices as a result, as an extension of hers. And she's just doing big time things. And I'm really excited to have her on. First off, Jen, how are you today?
I'm doing very well, Christian. Thank you.
Well, good deal. For anybody that might not be familiar with you, you're out of California. Talk a little bit about your backstory. How did you get into the business? How long have you been in the business? Talk about kind of what was the formation of your agency.
Okay, sure. I actually started my agency about 8 years ago. I've left the corporate world. I wanted to be my own entrepreneur and, do big things. And so I didn't start with Medicare though. So I did a lot of auto, home commercial, life insurance, investments, you name it, I did it. I have my license. But about 3 or 4 years ago, I discovered Medicare. And actually, by chance, because my in-laws needed help on their Medicare, I was like, what's going on here? So that's why I'm like, I'm licensed. Why not do this? So I dug deep and I really loved it. I enjoyed like every aspect of it. It was just more educational. It's not a commodity. And I really just started getting into it. And that's now my focus, primarily Medicare. And as it stands today, we're growing. We have about 15 agents now, 3 admins. And so I'm just so excited. I mean, this industry is just, as you know, like the greatest, I think.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's interesting. I was talking to somebody the other day and I told them, I was like, this industry has given me everything in my life. Like literally almost like, you maybe take my daughter out of it or something like that. But like everything that's good in my life has come as a result of this industry. And I don't think there's any other business like it. So I had the privilege of getting a chance to come out and spend a little time at your office, maybe about a month or two ago. And your setup is great. You've got your team that you're building, your agents and on the ground there. And, you guys are really, really growing and kind of hitting the ground hard. What would you say has been because you mentioned you started with home, auto, life, that kind of stuff. What really got you to see, the potential of health insurance, Medicare, that kind of stuff, to kind of start segueing that way with your business?
I would say at first it was just more of referrals and center of influence. And as I kind of started doing it, I'm just like, wow, there's more to it than just that. And that's when like I got more confident, got more like direct mail, did that, which kind of right now is not as good as before. And then what I end up doing was a lot of turning 65 workshops. And that my goal was to get my phone to ring instead of going to people's houses and making appointments. They didn't really know me. I wanted to be that agency in that area to like my phone will ring because I'm an expert now. And so I decided to do those turning 65 workshops and I love them. It really makes you stick out in the community as that expert. Actually, yesterday I met with a prospective turning 65. She called the office. She went to my seminar a few months ago, and she's like, Jennifer, I thought you were going to be 5'7". Like, you look so much taller at your workshop. And I'm like, I'm 4'10" and a quarter. First I told her, well, I'm wearing flats, at my workshops, I wear heels. But I mean, as a testament to that, I think it's because like you are the expert, you know your stuff. So they kind of put you on a pedestal. Not to say, I've had a client too where like, Jennifer, I put you on a pedestal. So just maybe one little thing I did wrong, she'd be like, oh my gosh, like I put you up here and, oh my gosh, like just because I didn't answer her call that day or something, she's like, I shouldn't have done that. So it's kind of funny how it changes, right? From like calling and setting appointments and trying to get sales. It's just more, you're the expert. It's more consultative, and it's very easy to make a sale because it's just, they go to you now, you're not going to them. They go to your office. You don't necessarily have to go to their home if you don't want to.
Yeah, I think that's really powerful, and I think like we got into doing seminars probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago, something like that for our office. And one thing we learned was I'm a big fan of getting clients, as are you, right? Where you're building yourself up as an authority in their eyes. It's why we do Medicare podcasts. It's why we do YouTube videos. It's why we write books. It's why we do seminars, because they are going out of their way to learn something from you. And they're always going to identify in their mind, just like you said, they're going to put you up on that pedestal, right? Because their introduction to you is you teaching them something in front of an audience. And I think that's really powerful. And you've done such a great job with the seminars, and you're such a great presenter. Talk about a little bit, what are some things you look for when it comes to setting up a seminar? What kind of venues do you like to do? And what are some topics you like to cover during your seminar? Talk through your process a little bit with that.
I just like I would say the presentation part too, you can't drown them out with like so much content. And before, like, because I had to figure it out, I probably purchased a lot of like presentations from different vendors. But these people weren't even in the industry to begin with, or haven't been doing this. So like I've really cut back on what I present in the presentations, because if you are doing turning 65, what are in the minds of the people that are turning 65? So I just really make it pertinent to them. And there's kind of like two schools of thumb where like if they're still working, and then if they're going to retire, and then really go over advantage and supplements as well, because like they want to know. And in the beginning, people would say, hey, you're biased on one thing to another. So I really changed that too. And just so it's more educational and I'm not biased kind of thing to what their needs are. But of course, you got to gauge the crowd too and see. There have been seminars where it's like the waitresses just did a totally bad job, right? You have to figure it out. At first, I would have my agents come, but sometimes, people aren't available. And I'm like, I could do this myself. But when it comes to maybe I've had 60 to 80 people at my seminars at one time. So it's that at that point, maybe I should just bring someone in, but I'm like, I could handle it, right? But I would just say things that are very pertinent to them, but then also have a call to action at the end, right? Compliance is changing. We can't even do the setting appointments, but that's fine. But like call to actions for them to get them to call you as well is really important.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that's really powerful. Have you had anybody yet heckle you at your seminars? Because I have. At some of our
I mean, yes, I think sometimes you get those difficult questions, but okay, so Christian, I don't think I'm a public speaker. I hated speaking out in public, even the corporate world, like when we had to do that, I just hated it. But because I think I'm coming from my heart and I'm confident and I just want to educate, like people see the genuine you. They just want to see a salesperson. So I think even though like I have gotten heckled, like, oh, do you get commissions? Or, like, since I speak from the heart, like, how come, are you biased? Things like that. Like, it comes out really good. And then I think more people are like, whoa, like, I like what she said.
Yeah. Yeah.
The biggest things are like you, and because of that, then like I revised my presentation to just, hey, here's some of the things that are frequently asked. So that's what I include now. So I probably don't get heckled as much, but
Yeah.
it still does.
I love that. And I think that's a great point. I think most things that might be looked at as a challenge or a negative can be looked at as an opportunity, right? Like you said, it can be an opportunity to win over some of the audience with how you handle a tough situation or a tough question or something like that. There was one lady I remember in particular. We did a seminar last year, and I was doing the presenting. I was teaching an agent of ours internally of how to do the presentation. So I was doing it. And we got a lady that just had been burned by insurance in the past and was just an insurance negative point, an insurance skeptic across the board, And so it was one of those ones where she raises her hand and she starts going like, she's like, well, you say it works like this, but in 2011, I went to the hospital and this happened and I got this kind of bill. How do you explain that? And I'm just like, I'm like, I don't know. I wasn't there. Like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I think how you handle those situations, the whole crowd will be like, well, I think he or she handled that great. I think they handled that very professionally. And, this person's kind of a prude a little bit, and
I see that. Yeah.
It
And
builds
then I also
that credibility.
I also see, I know like rule of thumb, some agents say don't let them ask questions. But for me, because I know I'm pretty confident, I know all the answers.
Yes.
I tell them, please interrupt me, because if you have a question, I'm sure 5 other people will. And so I think for me, that builds my credibility, because there's so many questions. It's just once in a while, there's workshops that no one asks questions, which is weird. But most of the time, they're very interactive because I want it to be interactive. And like that, I feel like helps my credibility because I'll answer it. I'll figure it out. So I like doing that versus saying, don't ask any questions.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I have the same kind of mentality, because I think if someone asks you a question or several questions and you can answer them right off the bat, with, just off the top of your head with your knowledge banks, it makes them think, wow, they know their stuff, and I think questions are a good thing. And I love that you take that approach, because I think it's really good. Talk a little bit about, because you're also somebody that has, done well with kind of building relationships in the community, right? Doing some grassroots marketing. There's a lot of things that you've done well at, so it's hard to just pick a few. But talk a little bit about the importance of having boots on the ground in your local community as an agent. What is what kind of impact can that have for an agent?
It definitely helps with just your pipeline, right? Because maybe 1 month or one AEP, this thing like direct mail is not going to be good. So what are the other sources that you're going to work? So with networking, I hated networking. Like I just, like, like you go to the Chamber of Commerce and it's like, you don't know anyone and you're trying to sell yourself. So I did join BNI, which is the largest networking group. And I joined because it seemed like everyone had kind of the same goal, which is like refer each other business and grow our businesses. And besides that, they have like a lot of like educational pieces, but that helped me with my networking skills. I think that definitely helped, because now even though like if I'm not in BNI or if I'm doing other networking, like I know how to talk to people and to kind of not sell yourself, but learn about them so they could learn about you and so forth. So with that, and just talking to people and finding groups, like niche groups of people, like what do you enjoy? So like ethnicity, I am Filipino. So I started joining more ethnic based groups. And so, kind of common purpose and so forth. And so like it kind of built that rapport and trust. And in that community, I've been actually like the expert in some of like the Facebook groups, 60,000 people. They go to me, all they do is search, and then they'll find my name and they'll contact me. So finding niches in your community that you actually enjoy. Like if you're a veteran, right? Why don't you join veteran groups? There's a lot of them around, right? Even like cars, like you love collector cars, start doing like vendor booths and going to those type of like conferences or shows, and then you could kind of see, hey, like can I put a booth at this show? Can I do this? Can I just start getting involved? And then people will eventually like you'll be magnetized to like you and your personality and be like, hey, what do you do, right? Like how could we work together? And then also it's that reciprocal factor, because if it's, hey, what can I do for you, they're more in turn be like, you know what, you're a good person. I actually like your values and how you run business. And so it's collaborating and finding those collaborations and so forth. And then if in your past job you weren't in Medicare or insurance, what are like the type of jobs you did before? And that could be a good, it's just kind of looking at your center of influence and figuring out what do you enjoy, who do you have contacts with, and start building in that way, I would say, for grassroots.
I love that. I think that's such a great foundation. I think anybody that's watching this, you can take what Jen just said and build a foundation. Even if you're brand new and you have, let's say, no money for marketing, no money for leads, you can take that blueprint that Jen just laid out for you. And, there's a lot of agents in this business that have never bought leads, that have great, businesses based on that blueprint that Jen just laid out. I think that's incredibly powerful. Talk a little bit about opening your office, right? So I'd say, you've started fairly recently, right? And started in terms of building a team and hiring out, team members and kind of getting some help with the ever-growing machine that is your business. Talk about what has been some things you've learned through that. And also, what are some advice you'd give to somebody that might be hiring their first team member? They might be looking to build some infrastructure around them to help them. What's some advice you'd give for that?
I would say really have a good structure in place or process. Yes, it's going to be always a work in progress, but you do need to form some type of structure. And like first, like when you are just doing so much servicing that you can't get sales, then it might be time to get an admin, right? And that's the scary part, because you're like, that person is going to help handle my clients. What if they don't do a great job? What if my clients leave me? So I think that's kind of the biggest part. Number one part is, letting go and actually training. So I've tried to be as systematic as I can, especially with the admins, because if I've done that servicing once, I'm going to have to do it again, right? So I have like systems in places where, I loom all my training. So it's a library where they could just click on the video and watch it. I'm at the point now where I'm having like my senior admin train all the other admins. And then of course you still have to manage the process and tweaks here and there, but it is definitely working. So like I have one admin that's just more technically, like she knows more technical, but then I have one admin that's more like she's my service person, and she's a go-to, and she makes people feel good about like all their complaints when they call in. So like I'm structuring it where, like let's have a weekly customer service, give them all the issues, and then how should the other admins address this if you're on vacation, if you're not doing something. And then like, so it's getting all systematic, and we kind of just have to have like our process in sync. Even like, I mean, these aren't expensive, like Google Docs, sharing those types of documents is all free anyways. So things like that that could just really help you structure, because I can't do everything anymore. It wasn't like before. Like in the beginning, it was like, I'll help you go on Social Security. I'll help you get your part A and B.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
right. I did everything I could to get clients, right?
Yep.
And that helped grow my book and get me referrals and learn everything. But I just can't do that anymore. So I do have to rely on a team. And it's consistent, right? Like, so a point where like my first admin, like I just couldn't keep training her. So I had to hire like a manager admin that had kind of a little bit more responsibility and could train. So just kind of building up your team little by little. I mean, it took time to get it where it is. And but now it helps. Like I use communication systems. I've been using Slack. We have channels. So every little subject, like we could hashtag it, you could just search. And so it's been working out. So it was a work in progress, but I feel like we're in a good spot that everything's jiving together and working.
It's really fun for me to get to see your guys' growth, from afar, and just to kind of see everything that you're doing. I love to see it. It's just the funnest. It's the best for me to be able to kind of see your growth and kind of see what your business is kind of evolving into. It's amazing. I have one final question for you. I want to be respectful of your time. I want you to talk a little bit about how unique California is for Medicare plans with their systems, their networks for the carriers, right? Like every market, of course, is unique with their networks and their provider networks on Medicare Advantage plans and things like that. But California is uniquely unique, I think, with some of that stuff. Talk about the importance of that and navigating that as an agent in California.
I would say, yes, we are very unique. I think our plans are the most competitive, but when you have the most competitive plans, you're going to have a lot of competitive agents and so forth. So it is unique because there's just so much competition. So you really have to know your groups, your doctors, the plans in and out, because there's probably like 10 agents just in a mile from me right now, right? Or actually probably even more. So knowing your stuff, because just comparative wise, client or prospect will know if you know your stuff versus someone that's like outside of California and trying to sell a plan to someone inside of California. And if you don't know what's going on in California in the last few years, last AEP, there's just a lot of servicing for current agents, because what's been happening is there's a lot of group changes and doctor changes. So there's a lot of contracts that they're negotiating, and some carriers are dropping groups, some groups are just dropping the carriers, and so forth. And so if you don't think quick on your feet and get those opportunities to talk to prospects, like your client's done, like they're going to go to that agent that's going to help them because they are updated, they know their information. So that's probably the biggest thing that's happening with California. Not sure if it's happening in the rest of the country, but with us, there's just difference in and out, and it's just constantly changing, which makes our jobs harder. But with me, I feel like, hey, that's an opportunity. You could be the agent that doesn't want to grow and just stop and like, oh, this is too much, or you could just ride with it, right? Because you can't change it, and then figure out how you could help those people or find those people to help.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it's certainly something that happens in all over the country, but I feel like it's like turned up a lot in California. I think it happens.
Yes, there's also 2 carriers that are leaving the market too. So that's the biggest thing, right? So it's like kind of, if you do talk to those clients, it's like, and if their agent hasn't told them already, like you look like you know your stuff, that you're more the expert, that like, why didn't they tell you that that's going on? Because if they're filing for bankruptcy, it's like, who knows if they're gonna help with your claims or get those extra benefits. So things like that I've been seeing. You don't know, and you're not in the know, it's harder to keep up with the pace.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about, if there's an agent out there that wants to work with you, right? That they're like, they listen to kind of your knowledge and your wisdom, and it resonates with them, and they want to get in touch with you. Where's the best place somebody can get in touch with Jennifer Lee?
Well, there is a California Insurance Agents group, right? So that
That's
Facebook, and then
right.
Christian Seven Figure Facebook group. If it's Facebook, my name is Jennifer Alfonso Lee. You could also call my office. I don't know if you want me to just splurge it out.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Okay, yeah. 714-248-8255, or my website, premier360solutions.com. It's interesting. Like, some people do call my office and are like, oh, we found you. And I'm just like, well, where did you find me? I don't know where people are finding me nowadays, but they are calling in and so forth.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, guys, if you're in the California area, you want to be joining the California Insurance Agents Facebook group with Andrew Lee. Jennifer Lee is a moderator. They're doing a great job in that group and making a lot of impact for agents in California. So make sure to join that group. Also, if you're in the California area and you are in need of some guidance, you want to work with somebody, Jen is as good as they come. I highly recommend, you reach out to her and, have a good conversation with her and see if you might be a good fit for her and vice versa. And yeah, certainly if you're needing a home, Jen is a great person to work with and reach out to. So thank you for doing this. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks, Christian. And to add to that, the biggest number one concern that agents have when they call me is that their upline or their coach, mentor, whoever it is, never calls them. Yeah. And I'm like, and they've called them like 10 times and still no call. And to me, I don't understand that, right? Because you signed up to be your coach, to be your mentor, and you don't call this person, like, obviously they don't care if you grow or not. And it just mind boggles me. Because like I'm pretty much there all the time, except if I'm on vacation, which is not often, but that's just like the number one thing. So with finding an upline, you need to make sure that they are available for you, especially when you're new. When you're new is when you need it the most, and you just don't want to be on an island by yourself.
100%. I think that's so true, and I think you hit it right on the head. You guys, you need somebody that's going to be able to teach you stuff, right? That they have good credibility and they have good experience and good growth. And then they have to be willing to give you the time of day. There's no reason to be stuck under somebody that won't return your phone calls, that, won't communicate with you, that kind of stuff. And so, make sure that you're working with the right person. And, if you're not sure, Jen is a wonderful person to work with. So Jen, thanks again for doing this. This was great. I'm sure that we'll be doing more of these sooner rather than later. And guys, reach out to Jen if you need help, if you are looking for somebody to work with in your business, and make sure to drop a like on this video. If you like this type of content, it's the only way people in the YouTube algorithm are going to be able to find it easier. So we need your help. Comment your thoughts down below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and we'll be back next time with somebody else doing big things in the business. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Christian.